Hello, 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 everybody, and welcome to the kickoff of season 3 of Soulful Practices podcast. So, I'm your host, Michelle Holling-brooks, and I started this podcast back with season 1 in April of 2024. And the hope was to provide everyone with a very similar way to what it feels like to sit down with me as your spiritual or healing coach and really dive into these deep and insightful conversations that also include self-work practices, right? Those bringing in that idea of how do I bring in contemplation and meditation and energy work and somatic work? How do I bring those things into practice that really are what the topics that we would explore sitting in a session with us of the different areas and themes and habits within your life that are truly causing you to have hidden ways that you are restricting and separating yourself from showing up as yourself in your life every day as you the way in which you truly want to be. So I wanted a podcast that was more than just information. It's to actually give you the hands-on support, that soul companion that's there with you on your self-work practices so that you can implement them right away into your journey of awakening and healing. So in seasons 1 and 2, we dove deep into the explorations around how do we really begin to work with two key concepts that are part of embodying a soulful life. One concept is that idea of cultivating compassion in a way that we can be willing to meet, uncover, and ultimately liberate ourselves from the different hidden fears that are having more control over our choices so that we can then go into the step 2 is cultivating the power to actually liberate ourselves to be guided from love instead of fear. So this season, in season 3, we were picking up right where we left off on the next step in that journey of just naturally gaining more willingness, openness, and bridging ourselves back to who we truly be so that we can step into the stage of our life in alignment with who we are. So once we get our system moving from love and from that possibility that we begin to feel more confident, that we can actually meet these different habits and fears that have cut us off from picking the choice that we know we want to make. So we can have both compassion for ourselves, but fierce courage and inner strength to move towards who we are in healthy ways, like beautiful, what I call committed action, that we can show up in a life that is in alignment. And to do that, we are also connecting to our inner guidance, right? And so the next natural step that often comes forward is like, how do I know? How do I know what is my guidance and what is true, what is quote right, and what is wishful thinking? What are the parts, maybe I'm listening to a part of me that's a voice that goes to somebody else. And it's very natural that we go outside of our system for that clarity and that discernment first, instead of going inward. And the truth is that our body has that wisdom within it. Our heart has that wisdom within it. And it's an unfortunate side effect of the conditioning that happens to us that we get disconnected from the truth that is naturally sitting in our body. And even worse, we start to feel disconnected from feeling safe and feeling confident and feeling a sense of true discernment when it comes to our own inner guidance. And we're going to talk all about that this season, about how we can help break those habits, break that programming, and bring ourselves into more alignment to where we do feel comfortable, we feel clean, we feel clear, and we feel that our inner guidance is trustworthy versus getting hijacked or having protective and wounded parts of us kind of getting in the way of that guidance and or showing up and skewing it in a way that matches those protective mechanisms versus being able to move from love and not fear. So again, one of the main questions I'm asked is, how do I know? How do I know this? And this was one of my huge questions on the way, because we start to logically doubt, like, what am I hearing? Who am I hearing? Why am I hearing it? And that's what we're going to explore throughout season 3. I'm so excited and I can't wait to dive in. Okay, so our main teacher for this season is going to be one of the Reiki principles, specifically Reiki principle number 3. And Reiki came from, the founder of Reiki is Usui, and Usui came with these beautiful principles for how to have a spiritual practice for being in alignment with Reiki, which is life force energy. And principle number 3 is, for all of today, I will do my work honestly. Or you often hear a more modern rewrite of this principle, which is, for all of today, I will align myself with truth, or I will walk with truth. I love the reframe because it really brings me into what I believe Usui was referring to with the word work, which is from a spiritual practice design of what work is. And from that point of view, our work is our life. Everything that we do with our life, the choices that we make, how we show up, who we show up as, how we interact with the beings around us is our work. So it's way more than just that 9 to 5er and what we do to get money so we can survive in Earth School. Our work is our life. That is our true meditation, right? And so that is what I believe Usui is really inviting us into with the Reiki principle number 3, is that this core component of living a life that's in alignment with our true life force energy is our ability to partner with truth, our ability to hear it, to see it, to sense it, to feel it, to know it, and then to bring our actions, our work, into alignment with that which we are getting, right? So, like myself and my clients, it's totally normal that we actually are disconnected from this and that we don't know what is accurate truth or inner guidance in the beginning. We don't know what's the difference between an egoic projection of just something that I want that makes me feel good, right? Or what is something that maybe is a protective fear dressing itself up and trying to masquerade as our true guidance. So here's the great news, okay? The great news is that we are all built to resonate with truth. All beings can feel truth. We all have a physical being, a body being that has gut level instincts within it that really, truly resonate with truth. And that feedback is up and running 24/7, no matter what. Our heart is also designed to sense truth, to feel truth, to be drawn toward it, whether that's an inner dialogue that's happening within us or what we're hearing in the outside world through teachings and conversations and podcasts like this, or songs or a lecture, or maybe somebody just sitting next to us, or random words coming together that really resonate to us and draw us in, right? And our body and our soul and our heart beings, those the 3 aspects of the 4 main parts of us, our body, our mind, our heart, and our soul, these 3 of the body, the heart, and the soul work super easily with what I call soul level truth. They love it, they work well with it, and they feel it in a way that just is what it is. It comes in with natural clarity, natural discernment, without the bells and the whistles. It's actually pretty neutral, and it often whispers at us, right? It's just like we hear that quote ringing of the bell and we know. It's pretty flat. It's what happens after that knowing comes in. That's all of our system's response to it. And where does all that response come through? It comes from our mental being. So our mental being is unfortunately the exact opposite of the heart and the body and the soul. It struggles, really, really, truly struggles to partner with truth, and especially soul level truth. Not because our ego is bad and it's trying to trip us up and like trick us and pull us into the weeds. No, it has a different function with us. It has the function to question whether or not we can actually show up in alignment in a safe way in the environment that we're in. Will it matter? Will it be received well? Will it give us survival protection? If the answer is no to that from a tribal point of view, from a social engagement point of view, if us standing in our truth, if us showing our truth is going to actually harm us because we're going to become a target, we're going to become it's going to be pushed down. It's actually going to bring us into, quote, maybe even physical harm or emotional or mental harm with the beings around us. It's going to cue us to say, yeah, no, I'm sorry, body. I'm sorry, heart and soul. We can't do that, because if we do that, it's going to be worse for us than if we follow that guidance, right? And so here is the problem. This is the sticky wicky, is that our mind has overrode the functioning that is within our body, right? Our innate truth. And it's actually created programs that give us more comfort in believing, one, that safety is outside of ourselves, and that safety is often going to come in aligning ourselves with the deceits, the lies, the protective mechanisms of other beings instead of following our own inner guidance. And so here's a quick example of what this means, and just feel into this and see how this might have happened in its own way for you. So imagine that you're a little kid and you're walking into a room full of people you don't really know, but your parents know them in some way, shape, form, or fashion, right? Or your caretaker, whoever is with you, a teacher or somebody like that. Your little body does what it does. It says pause. It cues you to kind of hang back for a second, feel into the room, mix it with your heart's energy, and decide then, based off of that input, who you feel comfortable with and who you don't. How much of your body, your first possession, are you willing to interact with the people around you with, and why? It doesn't come from a reason that your mind says, it comes from a felt sense in your body. And as you just start to do that, all of a sudden you feel your parent's hand behind you or that teacher cueing you, leaning down and saying, go in there, go say hi to those people, go give them a hug, do go in there. But you don't feel comfortable. Your body's saying no. And so it just naturally pulls away and it naturally pulls back because that's the body's truth. We're being overrode. We need a moment. Take a pause. The next thing you know, the hand gets firmer on your back and the language and the body language becomes something about don't be rude. Go give them a hug. They're fine. They're so and so. And there's a logical reason that comes in that's matching not the being's true guidance, because chances are the heart and the soul and the body of the parent are screaming the same thing, but the mind and the program is already overriding them. And so the heart says, pause, tell them again, you don't feel comfortable, reach out. But this is where the mind comes in and overrides that and says to both the heart and the body, no, we can't push back. We can't ask them to pause. We don't get the right to pull back and wait for our body's input of our truth of who we want to connect with in this room and who we don't want to connect with. Because if you do that, you're going to get in trouble. You're going to embarrass them. You're going to do something and it's going to come back to you in a negative way. Once or twice of this happening, no big deal. A whole lot of times of this happening, big deal. Because what happens is over and over, your mind says, see, we can't trust that heart. See, the body isn't really helping us out because every time we follow that instinct, every time we listen to that, these giants around us that are disconnected from their hearts, we end up in their quote crosshairs. And so if we want to stay out of trouble and we want to stay in the good graces of the system that's around us, we need to figure out what to do with this conflicting information. We can't keep having this big, huge discussion every time we feel something that we know is going to go against the giants around us. We've got to figure out a faster system so that we stay in good graces. And the mind begins to override. It says, I'll take the lead because you two, you don't know what you're doing. And so it begins to distort, to muddle the information that our body is sending to us. And this is how we get a whole host of survival and protective mechanisms and programs, because the body and the heart never stop sending these signals. They're always sending it. They're sending it right now. Your body is still a fine-tuned instrument for truth. And so is your heart. It's all the stuff in the middle is this ocean, how I see it, that separates us out. And one numbs us from being able to feel. It's almost like going, like think of it as going to the dentist's office, right? Like you get that numbing agent and you know that you have something there, but it doesn't function the same way. You're not able to receive that information. That's that mental being and its protectors cutting us off from feeling, sensing, and being able to interact with that input that's coming to our system, right? And it doesn't just numb us from it, it needs to disconnect us from believing in it. So therefore, we get a whole host of inner critics that are designed to discredit us, to discredit the messages coming from our body, to discredit our belief in our soul and messages and in our heart. And we get things like, I'm just always wrong, I'm muddy, I can't tell truth, my voice doesn't matter, I'm not smart enough, that lies outside of me. And it's not just in like our own personal ideas. It can even come to the point where it really starts to undermine our soul's guidance with all these protective stories that help us believe that if we follow them, we're going to create more pain, more discomfort than if we just give that choice to somebody else. So therefore, the first step in realigning our system to help kind of drain this ocean, build a little bridge across it so that we can start connecting to our truth is, yes, setting that intention. I am willing to hear, to sense, to feel, to know soul level truth at any time. So just feel into that. I've set the intention. I'm willing to sense, see, feel, hear, know soul level truth at any time. Chances are there's a part of you going, yes. And there's a part of you going, hell, WTF, no. like, no, that feels like a really risky business. And that's the part that we're going to befriend over the next 12 episodes. Because unfortunately, just setting the intention isn't enough. We also need to help our system lovingly, not just spurring it on and telling it we will feel truth, because these parts of us are so strong. They've had to be strong. They helped us survive in a sea full of adults that were disconnected from their hearts and their souls. And they didn't just wake up one day and do that. Something created that separation in them. And so we can have beautiful love and compassion for the fact that they were just passing on burdens and hurts that were already given to them. But we want to stop it. We want to break that cycle now. And to do that, we need to reprogram our nervous system and the habits that come with it of creating more comfort with trusting and reconnecting with a system outside of ourselves than in believing our own self. So to gain more clarity and discernment, it really requires us to go on this bit of a journey, this journey of befriending the body as a sacred messenger, and also learning how to sort through the very different levels of stories and voices that are present within our system at any given moment. So we're not just trying to be in wishful thinking, we're actually seeing our system as it is. And the three different pockets that we're going to be exploring this system are, what is protective guidance? What does that look like? What does it sound like when it's in me? When I have a protector part of me that's up and running, that's really designed to help us meet the needs of keeping us safe by matching those around us. How do I feel them? What do they feel like in my body? And how do I start to know their voices? Right? And then how do I start to know this, what I call the personal guidance? And that is, what do I want? What do I like? What are the things I love? What do I want to desire? Like in this journey of empowerment, we go from the tribe telling us what that is and our power lying within the tribe. And in this journey of self-empowerment, we pull out of the tribe and we say, okay, this is what the tribe wants me to like, but what do I want? What do I like? Sometimes it matches, sometimes it doesn't match at all. And then how do I feel safe in allowing myself to honor this middle column of me, right? And there's also this other pocket though. A lot of times what happens in the spiritual journey and in the journey of intuition and believing in our own guidance is we get stuck with this middle column of personal guidance. And the personal guidance is really designed to help us get to know us, to help us know what is my want, what are my needs, what are my likes, what are my wishes, what are my desires, and it's me centered. Right? We can say we want other people to feel good about it, but at the end of the day, we're saying, I have my own thoughts, feelings, and desires. I am my own sentient being. What is it that I'm up to? And that's a beautiful thing that we need to learn to have true empowerment. And if we get stuck there, tricky wiki. We also want to open to true guidance. And this is what I call soul level guidance. These are the whispers that come from our soul that are, yes, trying to help us be safe and meet our survival needs, meet our personal needs, but they also know that there is a quote, highest good and benefit of all, and that includes me in there. And this soul level guidance says, hey, can you trust me that while you might not get what you want and you might not hear what you want, and it might go against what the tribe wants you to do, and so you're going to have to be strong, this is really that guidance. And when we hear that and it goes against those other two levels, that is where we end up with quote decision fatigue. That is when we end up punching holes in that soft, quiet, neutral guidance and start negotiating with it, muddying it up, spinning ourselves on, did I hear that right? Did I not hear that right? Well, that's a personal part of me that maybe wants something to be different. Or it's a protective part of me that says, hey, so and so is going to get mad if we do that. And can we suffer their being mad at us? Or does that cost us our quote security, and or are we going to get shunned? And in our cells, if we get shunned, we're dead. It doesn't work out very well for us. So each episode throughout this season, we are really going to be diving into how does our body talk to us as a sacred messenger, so that we can begin to sort these three different levels that's happening within us at all the time. Because all three of these levels use our body to talk to us. And that can get really confusing because a part of me can feel grippy. And is that a grippiness because I'm running down the wrong road faster? Or is that a grippiness from a protective mechanism? Or is that a grippiness and a contraction that I'm feeling from a personal part of me that just really wants to hear something different? How do we know what that is? This is that number one question, and this is that next step. So we need to bring the compassion with us. Everything we learned in seasons 1 and 2, we need to bring with us as we begin to befriend the body, because that is the only way we're going to be able to start to help our system feel safe to talk to us. That it's safe for it to give us that message, to be exposed and vulnerable with ourselves so that we can gain clean, clear, authentic guidance. So the journey of befriending the body, one of the very first exercises that I invite clients into is this thing called the sway test. And so the sway test is really rooted in this belief that the body innately knows truth. So just take a moment and feel into that. Body innately knows truth. It knows what truth is and where does it want to go when it hears truth. It wants to lean in. It wants to move towards it. And it also wants to share truth, right? If we take all the protective mechanism, we ask them to step back and we ask beautiful Reiki energy to help us with this. It's like we naturally want to resonate and move closer to truth. And vice versa, our body naturally wants to move away from untruths, from things that are going to cause us to lose balance, from things that it can feel have a wrinkle in them and have attachments and expectations that will take us out of our power. We naturally want to close down, put up a beautiful protective barrier, and move away from it. It's innate, it's in our system. So this is the concept that all divination types of tools use out there, from energy testing to pendulums to dowsing rods to rune picks or card draws, is that the body, that everything resonating, the 10,000 things of the Tao, that they are resonating with us in a way that we naturally want to move towards that, or we naturally want to move away. Right? And so if we're picking cards, for instance, with one that says yes and one that says no, our system's going to be drawn to the one that says no if that choice is going to disempower us. It's just natural, right? And then our system's going to be drawn to the card that says yes, that's going to bring us an empowered choice. The problem with all those outside divination tools is that it's, again, we can punch holes in it. We can say, oh, well, that was 50-50 chance with the card draw, or that was, so you moved your arm in such a way that the pendulum started to do what it did. It's you messing with the dowsing rods, and we can punch holes in it and say that something else created it. Plus, you have to go buy these things, or you have to create them. And that's just a place for the saboteur to get in with decision fatigue. Like, how do I know which one to do? And how do I know, like, we want to take all of that out, give us as clean of a runway as possible. And so the easiest way to do that is to use our own body because it's already designed to do it. And so there's this thing called a sway test. And in the sway test, it's where you kind of go soft with your legs and you invite your system, I'll go a little sideways, to show me a yes. And it's going forward. Show me a no. And mine's going back. If for some reason I was like confused and I was asking too many things, it's going to go side to side, right? And so that's the basics of the body. Now, some people are reversed. Show me a yes, they go backwards. Show me a no, they go forward. Or they go yes, yes, no, no. Like they go forward, forward for everything, or backwards, backwards. And sometimes their body doesn't move at all. It stays totally still. But they can feel like a little tug in their system, like deep inside themselves, going forward or back. So when that happens, it's just information. And this is again why I love to invite clients into the sway test, because they can start to literally see and therefore begin to feel how our mental being protectors are not just made up things in space. They're in our body. They have the ability to physically manipulate, influence, and show up in our body when they feel threatened, and they feel threatened by what we're talking about, what we're thinking about, what we're thinking about doing. They come in there and they try to hijack us and pull us apart, right? And can influence our testing. And that's what happens when we get flipped and we're going different directions. When a yes is a no and a no is a yes, when we don't move at all, it's like, yeah, I'm not giving you that information. I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel safe to allow you to connect to that level of truth, right? And so we can use the sway test not as a what's wrong with me? Why can't my body do what it's supposed to do? Instead, coming in with that compassion, coming in with that beautiful self-love instead of self-rejection, and really starting to be like, wow, there is a part of me that is really not so cool with this dialogue and really feels that me getting 100% truth is going to be detrimental to me. And so when that happens, that's just our protective system saying that we don't feel comfortable showing a yes. We don't feel comfortable showing a no. We don't feel comfortable allowing ourselves to connect that deeply in, because then we're going to have to do what? Do something that will take us in. So if I get that guidance, I'm going to be cued to pull back and say to like my parents, no, I just came into this room. I need time to feel comfortable with. I'll decide who I want to go say hi to and not, and I'll give you a thumbs up when I get there. And then moving to the side and not letting their system override us. Well, that wasn't possible when we were little, but it is possible now. So step one that I always like to invite the system to do, the quick fix sometimes is just enough to do it, is to remind it that we're not little. Ask it, like, how old do you think I am? If you see an image of a little kid, you know they're thinking little. If you're more wired to hear things 3 years old, then you know it thinks you're 3 years old and not 33 years old. If you see the number 5 in front of you because you're very visual in that, then you know that the system thinks you're 5 years old. And again, you would show them a different number, be like, hey, I'm 25, or I'm 55, or I'm 75, like whatever it is that you are, like help it recognize that the degrees of freedom that you had whenever this programming solidified itself is not the same now. And sometimes that's enough to get it to calm down. Other times we have to do a bigger quote sidebar with it. And it's really diving into that compassionate inquiry into what I call a healing interview with that. If in the interest of time, I can't do a huge sidebar over there of how to do that, but I teach it in many, many different places. One of the best places that I have that's a free resource is called Healing Your Inner Critic. And in that one, it's a free training from my private membership community and podcast that I have there, Connecting with Joy, and where I worked with one of the most common protectors that we have, which is anger, and working with how do we work with that anger and how do we heal that inner critic that's just beating us up in a way that helps bring it into the healthy coach that it was always designed to be instead of that harsh voice. So that's a great free resource. So if you're like, that sounds amazing, Michelle, but I don't know how to talk to myself in a productive way, that would be a great resource to go take a pause, go watch that video, and then you'll have a framework of how to work with the sway test in a healthier way. The other option is too that I also have another free training coming up. It's a live one though on January 12th. That's a Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern time, where I'm going to be talking about how do we talk to the body through a system called emotional freedom technique or tapping. And that is a beautiful way where you really can communicate with your body to help give it the space to talk to the mind, talk to the heart, talk to the body's wisdom all together. And so those are two resources right there that can be a really big help for you. One, I'd love for you to join me live on that call so I can share with you tapping, what that is, how it works, and more importantly, answer your questions of how do you do those beautiful healing interviews and compassionate inquiries. I'll probably be answering that during that call. So you can take a look in the show notes below for information about those. So we're going to try the quick fix. So if a part of you is like, Michelle, I want to try this sway test, but when I just did it and I stood up and I said, show me a yes, I only moved like itty bitty. Or I felt that I wanted to move, but my body didn't move. Or I just went backwards and I was like, no. And I said, show me a no. And it's like, no. And it's like, show me a maybe. And it's like, no. I'm not talking any of that. Just remind it that what we have choice over what we do with that information that we get back. We're not going to get slapped on the wrist by spirit if we don't instantly move into movement and action that matches it. We can peruse it. We can have a dialogue back and forth with it. It's not the parent that's going to shove us into that room and override our system, because that would be unkind, and spirit is not going to work that way. So if we remind it that it has permission to make all those choices, then we usually get further, right? So let's just practice this right now. So before we get started with this sway test, I would love for you just to pause and let's do a willingness check. This is a huge part of my work, is willingness, because it does me no good to push myself into that room without first checking in to who at least has their hand up. Because and I'd be doing the same thing that the mental being did to me back then, right? Now, I'm not saying I'm going to give my choice to these parts, because that's where we're going to be the beautiful mystical parent, right? That's going to come in and say to these parts of our system, hey, pull up a chair, noted, your concern is here, because sometimes they have very valid concerns, but sometimes they're just running off of old programs. And we want to get that information, right? This is part of that sorting process. So we're going to practice it right now. So just take a moment. With this concept, I am setting the intention to be willing to sense, see, hear, feel, and know, however your system works, 100% truth at any given moment on any given topic. How willing am I to do that? And just really feel into your body right now with what setting that intention. I'm going to spend the next 12 weeks exploring this, really allowing myself to free myself up from the burdens that come with that lack of clarity, the decision fatigue that comes from lack of having discernment, and really allowing myself to have clean, clear guidance. How do parts of you feel about that right now? You know, what parts of you are feeling like, yes, this is amazing? And remember, your sensations don't have to match. because they're coming from three different levels of you. So on that protective level, what parts are like, can we put like status, like, can we say we're willing to hear truth here, but not here? Like, what is it up to? Where are there personal parts of you that have an opinion that are probably like, what if I hear something I don't like? What if I hear something that scares me? What if I hear something that goes against what I want? Do I have to hear truth then? Our answer is going to be like, yeah, kind of. That's what we're going for. And the soul level probably feels completely open and neutral. It's like, yeah, let's do it. So just feel how that's showing up in and around your body. And again, just tell all the parts of you, we're asking Reiki energy to help bring this in, is that we're seeking truth, and what we decide to do with the information we receive back, that's part two. This week is about part one, just getting the information of where is our body really at about showing us that truth. Let me rephrase that. Where is our mind at about allowing the body to show us the truth? Because the body already is ready to go. The heart is already ready to go. It is the mind running in between it that's creating our problems. So again, next week we'll get curious about what that is and how that is. But this week we're just working on that third principle of setting that intention for all of today. I'm willing to walk with truth. For all of today, I'm willing to do my work, i.e., my life, honestly, with that connection to truth guiding me in my actions. Okay, so now if it feels good to you, you can stand up and you can invite your system in to say, show me, I'll go a little sideways again, show me a yes, and just see which way you go. Hopefully, well, not hopefully, whichever way you go, great, because it's information. Show me a no, see which way it goes. And then show me a maybe, because it's always nice to get this calibration, as I call it. So we know where I'm at with any given topic. And then once you have just a static, show me a yes, show me a no, show me a maybe, then what you do is you bring forward that topic that you're wanting clarity on. And I want you to write it down. Because again, your mind can play tons of tricks with things. So write it down. Right now, I'm seeking guidance about yada yada, or I feel a lack of clarity here. I feel like I want support here. Whatever that is, write that topic down. And now the question is very simple. How am I willing to hear 100% truth with this question? And then let yourself go forward, go back, whatever it's up to. Where does your body go? If it goes forward, great. That's an excellent start. It means that whatever that topic is that you wrote down, your system is willing to trust you to gain that information without the protective or the personal levels skewing the soul level truth. So that's awesome. You would just drop into a meditation and start chatting with that. If you got to know, amazing too, because that's again information that there's a major part of you that is up and running that significantly got a question, a concern, or a confusion about hearing truth about that personal thing. That there, it thinks that it's going to go against one of those survival level programs. And so at this point, what you would do next for part two, if you really want to, is you would circle around to one of those healing interviews or inquiries and gain more insight into, we'll share more about what it is that you're afraid of. If I get this truth, then ... fill in the blank, right? And we're not going to poo-poo it. We're not going to tell it's silly, any of those things. That's not compassion. We don't want to do that. We just want to gain that insight. Like, what is happening? If it says, maybe I want to talk to you, or it's just ever so slight forward or ever so slight back, and it's not something that's a clear yes or a clear no, well, then that means that there's probably multiple parts of you that have some questions about what it is you're up to. One of the things, if you get a maybe, that you want to double check is that your topic is one thing. So for example, if I'm willing to seek truth on having a conversation with so and so that I know is going to make them upset, one, I'm making an assumption that it's going to make them upset. So now I'm dealing with two protective systems within me. One is how people feel about the things that I say or do. And then the other one is I want truth on what to say. Those are two completely separate topics. One is me dealing with the fact that how do I deal with people not liking or thinking that they don't like what I'm up to? And then how am I willing to hear truth about what to say to somebody? Those are two totally different topics. You need to break it down to one and then try it again, and you'll get a clearer answer. And then if you still get a little bit one way or the other, that's again helping you sense and know that there are parts of you that are nervous about that. We just want to love them and again invite them to kind of step back. We're just seeking truth. What we do with that truth is part two. Right? But we got to start somewhere. And so we're starting in this episode with part one. Am I willing to hear 100% truth on how to work with whatever that topic is that I'm working with it? So remember that what we're also looking to do is to have that full conversation. We want the body to be the messenger if there are protective parts of us up in the line in the way. And the way that we'll feel that is you'll feel that in a little bit of a shakiness. So if it flips, we want to have that awareness, right? If we're shaky in our body and it's like, oh, do I want to share this information? We want to have that information. If the speed in which we normally ask that question all of a sudden changes, like normally I'm really quick to say yes and really quick to say a no, like I'm clean and clear with it. And then all of a sudden it takes a long time for my system to decide to say yes. We just know that there are protectors right there watching what we're up to, right there leaning in and being like, you've got a very short leash on this topic before we take over. And that's beautiful information to have because now you're starting to actually partner with your system, with your body, with your mind, with your heart, with your soul as a whole versus saying, I want to only talk to one part of it. And it's a beautiful way that begins to befriend the whole system through the eyes of what I call the sacred witness instead of through the eyes of the fixer. Because the fixer is just looking to force my body to move. The sacred witness is asking for me to pause, feel in, and then have the movement be guided from that pause. Two completely different pockets. And that is what equals discernment. And that is what equals clarity. And that is what equals confidence in believing that we are accurate with our readings and our guidance that we're getting to ourselves. So if it feels good to you this week, I invite you to try this out. Set that intention to have a couple times throughout this week to try the sway test with different types of conversations in different moments throughout the week. Doing that calibration first, show me a yes, show me a no, show me a maybe, and then write down what is the topic that's up for you right there in that moment. Write it down and then just ask, am I willing to be in 100% truth with that topic? And then let Reiki energy guide you. Let it bring your attention to the different what is happening in and around your body with those different levels of conversations. Like, where am I flipping? All of a sudden, I was doing really quote unquote well with yeses and nos. And all of a sudden, I'm totally flipped. My polarity is flipped. My yes is a no, my no is a yes. Or the speed has changed, or the willingness for my body to move at all. Maybe it goes completely frozen. And from that awareness, invite Reiki energy to help you compassionately engage in the flow of curiosity. Lovingly leaning into what is happening within your system. Who is there? What are they up to? What is their fears? What is they're nervous about? So that you can begin to have a beautiful dialogue with your system. And what this dialogue does is it creates a wedge, a pause. In mindfulness, this is called the wedge of awareness. And this is a break in the habitual programs that just run behind the scene, continuously running. We want that wedge. We want that pause. And the sway test is a beautiful way for us to be like, I see it. I see that there's some trapped emotions. some fears. Maybe I'm even going to make a list of what I feel when I lean into it. Like there's a part of me that feels tight. There's a part of me that feels nervous. There's a part of me that feels numb, disconnected. There's a part of me that feels excited, and that feels scary to me, to be excited about moving towards hearing a truth or opening to a truth. The biggest thing that I tell all clients to do is to have fun with this. Don't take it too seriously. Definitely don't take it into harsh inner critic, right? We want your system to feel that you're showing up and curious, that you're wanting to get these different levels of awareness so that you can start to sort through what is happening. And when there's interference in that clarity, when there is something coming in, you will start to feel it super fast, and therefore your accuracy with your sway test will increase because you are noticing when and where and why there is something running interference with it. What part of you is nervous? What part of you is concerned? What part of you has compassion and joy and is ready to go? The more you can begin to dialogue with your system, the more you can start to see it as a sacred messenger, right? For all the different aspects of us, and truly coming into being that beautiful, kind leader that is helping you live, love, and lead your authentic life. So next episode, in episode 26, we'll explore the next steps of what do I do as I start to sort this. But for right now, we just got to start the conversation. Again, if you would like to gain more insights into that dialogue of how to really dive into talking more to your body, I encourage you to join me to sign up for the Let's Talk About It series. These are live coaching calls where I'll be bringing in different modalities to how do you have that conversation. The next one is all about tapping, which I absolutely love. It's a meridian-based system, and you're going to love it too. So I hope you join me into that call as well, offering you light, love, and joy. And I'd love to hear how the sway test is working for you this week, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.